that was so grim last week. Like, not only just the Cowboys one, but just like all these other ones that like.
The Browns was the worst. The Browns was the fucking worst.
Actually, yeah, I had Browns as well. Yeah, that was terrible. Like Browns and under at like 380 and shit. It's like, fuck me.
No one wants to fucking tackle on that team.
That's true. That was diabolical. Fucking Noah Fant turned into like, I don't know, like the fastest fucking tight end in the world.
Tyreek Hill.
True. Alrighty, let's go, guys. Welcome in once again to the Tripod, where we break down every single NFL game every week from a punting perspective. This week we'll be going through week 10, and I don't know if we can say this that often, Jacob. A lot of the times we'll look at the slate and, we won't like too many games, but I think this week we liked quite a few.
Yeah, I didn't think I would, but as we kind of fleshed them out and we put our heads together this morning and searched for the best markets, we have found a number of good plays. This is week 10. We've been sharing weekly plays since week 6. I think we had a good week 6, and then week 7, 8, 9. Can't hide from it. It's been shit. And look, I'm kind of soul searching. What are we doing wrong? We're still very confident. We're still showing up on Saturday mornings, and we're sharing plays with confidence. If you look at a lot of the plays we've given out, the vast majority, if you've been betting them, you've gotten a better number than what the market closed as. You've sat in a good position. But I completely understand. We give out best bets. We get judged on whether they win or lose, and it's been really shit. Like, I think we're down 12 units on best bets, which is slightly made up for being plus 7 units on the multis, especially those same-game multis saving us. But that's still losing money, which is bad. So we need to, be better and get some better results on the board. But we're confident we will.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've, sometimes you have to kind of look at what you're doing, but other times I think you just have to put in more work. And I think certainly this week, I know that we've deep dived more than we ever have this year, so let's hope that it plays out well. If Steph Curry
misses threes for a few weeks, does he stop shooting threes, or does he go back to the gym, just practice, get that technique fine-tuned and keep firing? You know that you're going to make more than you'll miss.
Indeed, and let's get things started off here with the first game on the cards is the Cards, plus 4.5 points at the Tampa Bay Bucks. 52 points is the total. I really like the over here, and I know it is the highest total of the week, and it is two teams that are over teams, so it should be a square play, but the matchup here screams overs. You've got the Cardinals as a bottom 5 pass defense, you've got the Bucks as a bottom 5 pass defense, so I think both of these teams will look at this and say, look, we can throw on each other. Throwing obviously chews up less time off the clock. On top of that, both teams very, very banged up on defense, which helps the over as well. You've got a bit of a longer turnaround for the Cardinals, so they should be able to game plan a bit more for this Buccaneers team, but I just think this is going to be an absolute shootout.
Yeah, my initial reaction was lean to the Buccaneers, minus 4.5 at home. So you're telling me that they're only 1.5 points better than the Cardinals. I think they're a lot better. Like, I know they've got a worse record. This Buccaneers team is one of the best 2-6 teams you ever see. They've actually been really unlucky. And speaking of being unlucky, you were twisting my arm last week wanting to take plus 5 with the Bucks at Seattle.
How brutal would that
Lucky we didn't. You were right. They were up 2 touchdowns. I mean, it was a tied game right at the end of regulation. Seattle actually misses a field goal to win, which in that case, obviously plus 5 cash. As it goes to overtime, the stats say if you're getting more than a field goal in overtime, but less than 6, you still win like 93% of the time.
Yeah,
but no, Seattle gets a touchdown. And I think that touchdown, which obviously wins the game in overtime, could be a bit of a dream crusher for the Bucks. I think now at 2-6, it's going to be hard to make the playoffs. And that was a very physical game. It could take a lot out of them. That's why I don't like the spot this week for the Buccaneers, whereas Arizona's off a 10-day turnaround. I don't think their 3-point loss to the 49ers is deflating. I think, if anything, they're kind of chuffed with themselves that they put up a really good fight on national TV against, like, the hottest team, the only undefeated team in the NFL. Right. And 3 points are a bit misleading. They were down 14 in the fourth quarter. They got a fluky, 90-yard TD, kind of get in the back door there. That's why I don't believe in the Cardinals. But, hey, Kyler Murray has improved each week. When he runs the ball, it adds another dimension that defenses can't really stop. Jameis is good for turnovers, but he is also flinging it around, and we play fantasy. Like, I've got Mike Evans on my team. Godwin's feasting as well. So I agree that I like both these QBs to put up some points in this one. I like the over.
And the Cardinals still playing one of the fastest tempos in the league. We've got two best bets for now. We're taking the over 51 points. That one is $1.80 in the Bet365 alternate total markets. And we're going to take the Buccaneers team total over 27.5 points. That one is $1.85 on Unibet. Hold your nose for this one. We've got the Falcons plus 13.5 at the New Orleans Saints. 51.5 points is the total. Both teams coming off the bye in this one, and you kind of wonder what the Falcons' mindset is off the bye with no finals aspirations at all anymore. Whereas the Saints have just been absolutely rolling. Even without Drew Brees, they obviously have him back now. They had him back week 8. But the Saints are a great team. Don't get me wrong. But 13.5 points, 14 points is a lot. And this Falcons roster is still very, very solid. We know that there's going to be a lot of points in this one, 51.5 points. The Falcons defense is a sieve. But the thing about the Saints is the run defense is their strength, and you can actually pass on the Saints a little bit. So that's what the Falcons want to do here. They've got Matt Ryan back for this one, even if his ankle is a little bit hobbled. He's been confirmed in now. So I think even if the Saints get up, by a margin, the thing with this Falcons team is they will be able to pass the ball on this Saints side. So, look, even if they can't keep it close during, I think we've still got a chance for a backdoor cover with Matt Ryan slinging the ball around late fourth quarter.
I'll give you $1,000 hypothetical bet right now.
Here we go.
We pick a team each. It's neutral venue, and it's head-to-head. Whoever wins $1,000, and I'm giving you first pick. Which team in the NFL do you want this week?
Okay. Are you going to give me two teams?
You've got first pick.
Oh, I've got.
You can have anyone.
The very first pick. Okay, interesting. I'll take the Saints.
There you go. And I would have taken the Saints. So we think they are the best team in the NFL now across the board.
It's right now because you've got Mahomes injured and shit.
Yeah, he's not 100%. Yeah. And that's not necessarily our Super Bowl pick because I think it's harder to come out of the NFC. There's that many more contenders and stuff.
It's funny that you didn't say the Pats, but anyway.
Yeah, the Pats would be right up there too. But we just saw what happened to the Pats on Sunday Night Football. And the 49ers, I don't think, as great as they are, they're not the best team in the NFL right now. But I guess that they are undefeated for sure. But look, we both agree the Saints are as good as anybody, and they did so well, didn't lose a game with Breeze out and Teddy, 2 gloves in there. Now they've had a bye after Breeze got back and showed he still can fling it around. And in saying all that, this is a big amount of points for a division rival. I know the Falcons are a lame duck this year. I know Dan Quinn's dead man walking. We just have enough faith. It's too early in the season to give up. There's still playmakers on the offensive side of the ball for the Falcons. The fact that they know if they don't come out with their game face on, they will get humiliated here in the Superdome. I think the defense will try as well, and we just enough faith for us to hold our nose and take the Dirty Birds.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the one play on this one for now. It's the Falcons plus 14 points. You'll find that one. The best price is $1.90 on BetEasy. Moving along to the Ravens laying 10 points at the Cincinnati Bengals. 44.5 points is the total. This might be my favourite play of the round, and it might be the ugliest play of the round as well. I like the Bengals here for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the spot. Not only are people saying it might be a letdown spot for the Ravens, look, it might be a letdown spot. Certainly more chance of it being one than not. But they're coming off beating the Seahawks, beating the Pats. Now you have to turn around, play a shitty Cincinnati Bengals team. Then next week, you're off to play the Texans. So I would call that a double-decker sandwich spot there, a letdown spot in between. So I think it's a good spot there for the Bengals. The Bengals coming off the bye, a winless team off the bye is a good trend. Plus you have recent revenge for the Bengals. I think they lost, 4 weeks ago against the Ravens. Not only that, the Ravens are coming into this one a little bit banged up. 2 starting O-linemen injured. Hollywood Brown, their best, pretty much only wide receiver, injured. Lamar Jackson coming in with an illness, missed practice yesterday. And the safety, Earl Thomas, also injured. So we've got a banged up Ravens team in a bad spot against a shitty, terrible, 0-8 Bengals team. But I really like the spot here for the Bengals. I think they can keep it close.
And we can't mention every factor, but we do try and outline the main factors. So it's worth mentioning Andy Dalton, who's been a long-term QB. He's been benched this week. They bring in the 4th-round pick, Finley. We don't know how good he is. I think it's probably a downgrade, but sometimes when you've been going along so badly, just a change, can be, as good as a holiday kind of thing. So, and you mentioned that a winless team off a bye is a strong play. Why is that? One, because a winless team, nobody wants to bet on them, so they're usually good value. And off a bye at this time in the year, they got to have a look in the mirror and say, are we going to apply ourselves and give everything? If we don't, we're going to have a winless season, which is pretty embarrassing. So they should go hard. Rematch, they've already played, obviously, division rivals. There's something to be said for teams that get a second look at Lamar because he's so different to every other QB, but you play against him twice, and you've played against him last year, so it's like at least they're not going to be totally surprised. He pulled the Pats' pants down last week.
True.
But, yeah, I don't think that they're going to be looking to necessarily win by a big margin because of the spot that the Ravens are in and with the injury, so I like that too. And, it's a new coach. There's already talk he's on the hot seat for the Bengals. They've got to show something. So, again, I think if people look at this slate and they're going to be building their multis, they're going to say Saints are a lock to win, Ravens are a lock to win. We're going to take the points with the Falcons. We're taking the points with the Bengals. I would just say, have some caution there. I don't know if there's guaranteed. If you get some luck in the turnover game, you get these long underdogs. They're going to be aggressive, go for it, fourth down.
Yep.
Like there's a possibility of upsets in these games.
Yeah, I agree. Call me crazy, but I mean, like you said, I would not say that Ravens are a lock by any means.
I won't be throwing the Saints or Ravens in our multis, put it that way.
Yep, agreed. Got three best bets for now. We're taking the Bengals plus 11 points. That one is $1.86 on Unibet. We'll take the Ravens team total under 28.5 points. That one is $1.83 on Bet365. And we'll take the Bengals team total over 16.5 points. That one is $1.86 on Unibet. Next up, the Bills plus 3 points at the Cleveland Browns. 40 points is the total. This line pretty much says it all. They think that these two teams are even teams, and you're giving the Browns 3 points for home field. Look, if you look at the records, obviously you got the Bills at 6-2, I believe, and the Browns at 2-6, I think.
Right.
So you look at the records, and certainly you'd think that the Bills are the better team here. I don't necessarily think so. I think the Bills have had it pretty easy in terms of their schedule. Not only that, the Bills have not played an away game for a month now, so this will be their first away game in a month. Meanwhile, the Browns are coming back home after a couple of weeks away, so they should be a little bit more pumped to play in front of their home fans. Everyone is fucking down on this Browns team, so it certainly seems to me like this is the sharp play. Matchup-wise as well, I think it's decent for the Browns. I know that everyone's heaping shit on Baker Mayfield, how he's been inaccurate all season, one of the biggest letdowns in terms of quarterbacks for this season. But the weakness of the Bills, and the Bills do have an above-average defense, but the weakness of the Bills is you can actually run on them. They have the third worst run defense in the league, and what the Browns want to do is feed Nick Chubb, and I think they'll be able to do that this week. You get Kareem Hunt back as well, so you can add him into the mix. So I see a lot of run game here from the Browns, and I think they can get the win at home here. Fuck.
Yeah, I think I told you this before.
They're more talented. What is happening?
In 31 years, a team that had a 25% or worse win percentage has only been favoured against a team with a 75% or better win percentage twice in 31 years.
Pretty crazy.
But in saying that, the Bills, 6 wins, yeah, but they've beaten the Jets, they've beaten the Redskins, they've beaten the Dolphins. Like, they haven't, you show me, their impressive win. They actually beat Tennessee, which is probably their best win of the year. Tennessee missed 4 field goals. Yep. So they're not a true 6-2 team. They're pretty phony. And the Browns, look, we had 4 best bets that all lost on them last week, and they dominated Denver, and they fucking got to the red zone 5 times for 1 touchdown. Didn't even let the Broncos into the red zone, but conceded 2 long-range touchdowns. Even on the final drive, could have won that game, but failed. And they've had a really tough schedule, to be fair to them. They played the Pats the week before, were even in the stats, but got killed on turnovers. They've played Ravens, they've played Rams. So the big disparity in who these teams have played, which is what's fed into the record. So I think the Browns are the better team. We can get -2.5. Now, that should be a great play, and we're confident enough to take it. But the one concern is team chemistry. You got Odell Beckham having a cry. He didn't get the ball thrown to him on 4th down. You got, him and Landry wearing the wrong boots. You got Baker Mayfield shaving multiple times. You got all the criticisms of Kitchens there. You had their linebacker came out on Twitter and said, the guy who had the terrible tackling effort, I don't know if you saw this, on that Noah Fant touchdown, some beat writer wrote he should be ashamed of himself, and this guy wrote back, Cracker, I'm going to kill you. And he's been cut from the team. So this kind of
Oh
stuff,
my
it is a
God.
bit of a shambles. So as much as we will take the Browns, because I'm waiting for that week they turn it around, if you're betting the Bills +3, you're just saying, I think I've got the better coach team that actually is a cohesive unit. So I get that. I still think the Browns have to win this game.
Indeed, and we've just got the couple of plays on the Browns for now. We're taking the Browns over 20.5 points. That one is $1.87 on Unibet. We're also going to take the Browns to win the first half. That is $1.85 on both Ladbrokes and on Neds in a three-way market. So essentially minus half a point in the first half. Here we've got a very similar sort of matchup. The Lions plus 2.5 points at the Chicago Bears. 41.5 points is the total. Once again, a Lions team that has been playing relatively well this season. I know their record probably doesn't speak to how good that they have been. And look, take nothing away from them last week. The Raiders are, as we saw, a pretty decent outfit here. But the Bears, God, they have been the ugliest, one of the more disappointing teams of the season alongside the Cleveland Browns. But when you get, shit heaped on you week after week after week, now you come back home, I do expect a good effort here from the Bears. This line is telling us that the Lions are the better team. And look, when healthy, I agree, they probably are. But they are super banged up, this Lions team. They've got a bunch of dudes out. Guards, safeties, defensive line. The punter's not practicing anymore. Matt Stafford, the QB, was limited at practice. 2 defensive tackles out. So they're just way too banged up to take this Lions team. And I think, once you get cluster injuries like that, especially on the defensive end, that doesn't necessarily move the line too much with the betting public and stuff, especially defensive players. So I think we've got a pretty healthy, albeit worse, Bears team when fully healthy. But this Bears team is pretty healthy at the moment. They're at home. I do expect them to be able to get the win here.
Yeah, exactly like you say. Some piece of news comes out that a certain outside linebacker is not going to play this weekend, and there's no one in the public that goes, "Oh, he's out for the Lions, so now I'm going to bet the Bears." But it's that cumulative effect that it's not just him, but it's a number of players on that unit that are questionable or doubtful, or out.
Right.
You're right. This is a similar game. You've got a team that is extremely on the nose and extremely underperforming, but home favourites here. And again, we think this is the week they turn it around. And I don't think it's because the Bears are great. I don't think they're going to make a surge to the playoffs. I just think they get a good spot that they get to come home and play a banged up Lions. Don't even be fooled. Last week we went against the Bears and they lost by about 8 to Philly. Roughly the final score 22-14. And the Bears were horrible. They scored the final 14 points, which makes it look close. They had 6 yards of offense in the first half, one first down from a penalty. When I said they need to be a bit more aggressive, I know Mitch Trubisky is so terrible, but you go on the road to Philadelphia, you need 20 points to win the game. They couldn't get that again. They're awful, but I kind of think it can't get any worse. So I'm still going to ride with them. And dead set, hand the ball off to the running back every play if you have to. He's that bad. But the Bears' defense could be enough to win them this game. So we're going with the Bears at Soldier Field.
Indeed. We're taking a lot of ugly teams this week. And to be honest, that's what we mostly do. So sometimes it ends up good, it hasn't ended up good so far. We've got 3 best bets on the Bears this week. We're taking the -2 points for the game. That one is $1.83 on Unibet. We're taking the Bears minus half a point in the first half. That's $1.82 on Unibet. We're going to take the Lions team total under 20 points. That is $1.83 on Sportsbet. Next up, the Chiefs laying 6 points at the Tennessee Titans. 48 points is the total. Another one of those ones, Jacob. We haven't got a play on it as of now, but defensive players out for the Titans. You're missing your best pass rusher in Jarrell Casey, so that doesn't really make the headlines at all. But that is going to give a banged up Pat Mahomes, who is confirmed in for this game, just a little bit more time to throw in this one, which is certainly a plus for the Chiefs. The worry here is, I guess, you're laying 6 points away from home at Tennessee. And I know that the Chiefs are considerably better, and especially now that they've got Pat Mahomes back. But the worry is, how healthy is he really? And, even if he is healthy enough, do they wind back the playbook, run it a bit more, just to keep him as healthy as they possibly can? But the thing is, I don't really want to take the Titans either. Like I said, Jarrell Casey out, but you're also missing a couple of receivers in Delaney Walker and Corey Davis. You're pretty much only good wide receiver. So, Yeah, it's just a stay away for now. For me, if I gun to my head, I probably would actually lay the 6 with the Chiefs away from home, even though it seems like a lot.
Yeah, remember that exercise I've said before, that when you are enticed by a road favourite because it looks like, oh yeah, -6 on the Chiefs and 2,
Right.
just flip home field and make that line -12. And if the Chiefs were at home laying -12, would you be going, oh yeah, I'll play the Chiefs?
Right.
You probably wouldn't, because the Titans
fair.
aren't terrible. The Titans, are competitive. And in the AFC, the Titans are well and truly still in the playoff picture as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we know that this team actually can run the ball, which is the Chiefs' weakness.
Correct.
But I will say, Chiefs don't have as many weaknesses as people think. The defense has gotten better recently. Since Chris Jones has gotten back that they can get after the opponent QB a bit. Now, Pat Mahomes, the public sees it kind of binary, like he's in or he's out. But what you're talking about is he's in, but he's not 100% Pat Mahomes. And even if that knee is completely sweet and he can change direction 100 mile an hour and beat defenders and make people... what you're talking about is, like, they're not going to go for another QB sneak.
Right.
He's not going to try and beat someone on 3rd and long with his legs. Like, they will be more conservative. So it's not going to be a full repertoire of what Mahomes can do if you lay the -6, which is why we won't. But the defensive injuries for Titans don't give us enough confidence, and we really respect the Chiefs. I think they're a great value bet. That absolutely the only true team to me, although the Ravens were amazing on Sunday night, to me, this Chiefs team is the real side that stops the Pats getting to the Super Bowl in the AFC. But I don't have a play this week.
Yeah, definitely. And especially because the Chiefs are probably coming in a little bit underrated. They've been so banged up all season. They've rarely had, a fully healthy team.
Yeah, like Tyreek Hill could be as good, a top 5 wide receiver in the league. He was out a number of weeks. Pat Mahomes, bloody the Michael Jordan of NFL. He's been out a few weeks. So, and they're still ticking along. Impressive win last week.
Indeed. So we go from a relatively fun game to a pretty shitty game here. We got the Giants laying 3 points at the New York Jets. 44.5 points is the total. Obviously, it says New York Jets are at home, but this is pretty much neutral ground for both of these teams. So they're saying that the Giants are 3 points better, and you know what? They might be. I don't know. These two teams are pretty horrible. But let's just look at this in terms of the total. 44.5 points. The Jets have a relatively good defense, and the Giants, as we know, do not have the best D. But I don't know how many points the Jets are going to be able to score. You don't even know if you're going to have Le'Veon Bell in this one. And if you do have him, he's going to be a little bit banged up. So I'd say he's probably 50-50 to play in this one. And that's pretty much been the Jets' entire offense all season long. What do the Giants want to do? Well, they want to run the ball with Saquon, don't they? But the Jets have a very, very good rush defense. Number 2 in the league, in fact. So can't really see the Giants being able to just run the ball down the Jets' throat. On top of that, if the Giants do want to pass it into the Jets' weakness, you are missing Evan Ingram, who's been great for the Giants this year, just as you thought they were kind of getting healthier. He's out. Sterling Shepard looking doubtful for this one. And both centers for this one, both sides injured for this game. So that all lands me on the under.
People don't understand how important the center can be too. Just that familiarity with the snap count, knowing the plays, and having that chemistry with the quarterback.
Oh, definitely.
Teams can really stutter on offense when they lose their center.
Oh, you see sometimes like they'll bring in a new center and it's like they'll fuck up 3 times in a game, which you never see.
It can be a big difference. I want to rewind for a second because right at the end of the Chiefs-Titans, you said that should be a fun game. And our man, Nettie, if you've missed his videos, he's over in the States with a couple of our mates, Jonesy, Dobbo, Tomo. Those boys are going to this game, Chiefs-Titans. That's awesome to get to see Mahomes. I'm so glad Mahomes is back for this one. So have a great time, boys. If you are listening to this, we've got to give those lads a shout out and explain to people who've been missing Nettie's videos. I think it is pretty hard to get like that video recorded and get it through to us. If he can, he will.
He's still posting in the Tripod app.
Yeah, so he's still sharing his plays, and he's over there with his his ear to the ground. So he's probably going to have some good info and some good plays. Back to this one. To me, it's like it's all about the mentality of these teams, that they've both been pretty bad recent weeks. And what's killed both these teams is turnovers.
Yep.
And now you get a game with a lot of pressure on both sides. Hot seat for both coaches, really. Gase, first year, and Shermer, like, is he the answer, or do they need a more offensive-minded, QB whisperer in that team? And I just think they say to themselves, this is a winnable game. This is such a big game to win the Battle of New York. We can't fuck it up. Yep. And they've got to come out conservative. And you've got, Barkley versus Bell. I know Bell's questionable, but it's like both teams want to run the ball because their QBs have turned it over a lot. No one's talking about Danny Dimes averaging like 2 turnovers a game, fumbles and picks, and Darnold has not been much better. So for me, I love the unders, not because I think the two defensive units are great, but I think the style of play will really lead to a lower scoring game.
Indeed, and we have 3 best bets directly correlated to the under. We're taking the game under 45.5. That is $1.87. You'll find that on Sportsbet, but just scroll down to other markets because that'll land you with a better price there. We're taking the first half under 22.5 points. That one is $1.90 on Unibet. We're going to take the first quarter under 9.5 points as well. That one's $1.81 on Sportsbet. Next up, the Dolphins plus 11.5 points at the Colts. 44 points is the total. It's a tough one for me. I know that, after the Dolphins get off the schneid last week, they get the win over the Jets, their first win of the season. And generally, you do have what's called losing streak theory, where if you go on a long losing streak and you get the monkey off your back and get that first win, usually the pressure's off a little bit and you come out and play pretty well in the next game. So do I expect this from the Dolphins, though? Possibly, but from the Dolphins' management perspective, they've got to be thinking if we actually get a second win on the board here, then you can almost completely, I'd say you can completely throw out, getting the number one pick there. So they've, even though Fitzpatrick and this whole Dolphins team is trying hard, after that one win over the Jets, I don't think they're going to want to win another one here. But on the Colts side, laying 11.5 with this Colts team would not have gotten you one win this season. They're 5-3, so the record is obviously a winning record. But every single game that they have played has been decided by 7 points or less, whether it's been a win or a loss. So that's kind of been the Colts' MO. They've been playing close games this year. You're still missing T.Y. Hilton for a couple more weeks. And now Jacoby Brissett is probably a 50-50 to play. Frank Reich came out and said, even if he does play on Sunday, he's definitely not going to be 100%. So, I see the Colts just running the ball a shitload, trying to, get out of this one with the win. But by the same token, I don't feel confident taking double digits with a Dolphins team that probably wants to lose.
This Dolphins team's funny, week 1 lost by 40+ to the Ravens, flogged by the Pats, flogged by Dallas. Some people are saying this is the worst team in the history of the NFL. They were down 17-3 the fourth quarter against the Skins. We were laying 3 with the Skins. And what happened? They brought in Fitzmagic. Yep. Did you know since then, which is basically 3.5 games, they've outscored their opponents in the time that Fitzmagic has been the QB?
They've tried so hard.
In saying that, who have they played? They've played, as you said, that was the 14-0 finish of the game against the Skins. They've beaten the shitty Jets, played the Bills. There's some respect in that. And the Steelers, they actually competed.
So it's against the Bills.
Yeah, they're 4-0 against the spread the last 4 weeks. So now they're not the historically bad team. They're still bad though.
Yep.
And I don't have the confidence to take them this week because the Colts are a real team and another team that's pushing to make the playoffs. And even if Hoyer plays, Hoyer's one of the better backups. So I could still see the Colts covering this line. So I think there's no way the Dolphins will come in and win. You've even got that questionable motivation there. So it's a pass.
And it's funny, I guess we are nearing the end of the season, and I know a few people in the group bet on a team to go 0-16 this year. So they would have been absolutely spewing when the Dolphins won last week. But surprisingly enough, they're still fucking alive.
Actually, on that,
crazy.
Isn't it funny, right? We talk about this. Now, this isn't the players. The players have pride. The new coach Flores has pride, but this is the head management. You've gutted the team because you want to have high picks in the next 2 drafts and you want to accumulate draft picks, and they've got that. They've got 6 first rounders in the next 3 years. And what has stopped them from basically locking up the number 1 pick? How shit Adam Gase is. So their coach, the ultimate revenge, they fired him. He's gone to New York. He's spent $50 million in free agency. He's got a team that should be pushing for a wild card. And he's so shit that he's come in and then lost to the Dolphins. I think that's quite ironic that he has just screwed him over one last time by losing to them.
Yes, indeed. Next up, we have the Panthers plus 5 points at the Green Bay Packers. 47 points is the total. I do like the Packers here. I think that, you give Lambeau, like we've said, is one of the stronger home fields in the league, you give them about 4 points. So this line is saying that the Packers are only 1 point better than this Panthers side, who's still, Cam Newton's out for the year, obviously, now, and Kyle Allen has done a job there. But at the end of the day, like you said when we talked earlier, Jacob, at the end of the day, this Aaron Rodgers versus Kyle Allen. And can you say that this Panthers side, apart from the QBs, is much better than this Packers side? I don't think so. Packers are getting healthier now. They've got Devontae Adams back. He's got a game under his belt. The Packers are coming off one of the more embarrassing losses, or certainly their most embarrassing loss of the year. They've only had 2, but just to get trounced like that against the Chargers, I do expect a bounce back spot here from the Packers. Both teams cannot stop the run, which is a shame, which is bad for the Packers in the fact that the Panthers, all they want to do is run it with CMC. But in saying that, if the Packers get up in this one and they have to and the Panthers have to throw, they are going to struggle. Not only that, the Panthers' injury list is way more than the Packers at this point. A bunch of defensive players injured on the Panthers side. So with all that together, I think that this Packers side is superior. They're at home, and I think we're getting in pretty cheap here with the number.
Yeah, I like the Panthers. I think they do have a better defense than the Packers. Kyle Allen's only lost 1 start. I think he's 5-1, and the 1 loss is at the 49ers.
Yep.
So not much shame in that, although they got absolutely housed in that one.
Right.
But it is as simple, and sometimes it doesn't kill you to be too simple. Rodgers versus Allen at Lambeau Field. The Packers, I think, in a good spot coming home after getting humbled, as you said. Devontae Adams, back. You've got to remember he was out for a few weeks there. So I do think that they should be too good. Obviously, CMC does help your offense, even if you don't have a great QB. He just creates, when he has no right to. So they have that chance. And as I said, they do have quite a good defense. I still think the Packers are a legit side this year that is still in the conversation. They should be winning their division, and they should be pushing even for a bye. Yep. And this is a huge game, and I think Rodgers bounces back, and they will, win this. They should win this game by a touchdown or more.
Indeed, we've got 3 plays as of now. We're taking the Packers laying 4 points. That one is $1.90 on BetEasy. Going to take the Panthers team total under 22. That's $1.83 on BetEasy in the 3-way market. And also on BetEasy in the 3-way market, we're going to take the Packers team total over 25 points. That is $1.84. Moving along to the LA Rams laying 3.5 points at the Steelers. 44 points is the total. It's a funny one. We mentioned DVOA defense here. Football Outsiders does a great job with their DVOA rankings and stuff like that. And generally, you think of this Rams as a high-flying offense, like they were last year. You think of the Steelers. Most of the public thinks of the Steelers as that high-flying offense. They remember, obviously, Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger there just flinging the ball around.
Killer bees.
So, but you look at DVOA defense, both of these teams in the top 5 defensively. So, and the Rams, missing Brandon Cooks. He's pretty much out for the season now, it looks like. The Steelers banged up as well. James Conner ruled out. Juju Smith-Schuster injured. So you're missing offensive weapons, and you've got 2 teams that most of the public still sort of regards as, high-flying offensive teams. But in fact, they have been the complete opposite this season. They have, like I said, 2 top 5 defenses plus offensive skill players banged up. I see this going under the total for sure. And there is money that has come for the under as well. I've got the old total on there. It was there yesterday. So I think that's going to continue to drop. So we're getting in now.
Yeah, I love the under in this game. You get 2 top 5 defenses against each other. And certainly the Steelers with Mason Rudolph is a below-average offense. And the Rams offense off a bye, I think they'll be okay. Cooks is a loss, but I still think this team still has Super Bowl hopes.
Yep.
They're in a very tough division with Seattle and obviously the 49ers, but still very much in the playoff picture, and still, they are all in. It's traded for Jalen Ramsey, which helps the under in this game. But, if they've got a top 5 defense and they do have an offense that can score with a really good head coach, you can get upsets in the playoffs. So I like the Rams, but I love the under in this game. I've been saying for a few weeks the Steelers' defense is really good. They've bolstered it with their draft picks and with, trades and stuff. But I was even shocked by that stat. I only heard that this week, that the Rams are quietly top 5 in defense. Like, let's not forget.
You wouldn't think so, yeah.
They lost a game like 52-45 against the Bucks a few weeks ago. Like, and they've played Russell Wilson and conceded 28 in that game. And the stats are still saying that they're a very elite unit. So, and it's an outdoor game with a possible chance of some wind and rain. So that's an extra free roll. If that was to happen, the total will only go further down.
Yeah, absolutely right. We've got 3 best bets on this one for now. We're going to take under 43.5 for the game. That's $1.92 on Ladbrokes and on Neds. Take the first half under 22.5 points. That is $1.88 on BetEasy. I'm going to take the Rams minus 2.5 points in the first half. That is $1.81 on BetEasy. Next up, the Vikings plus 3 at the Dallas Cowboys. 48 points is the total. I said that the Bengals was probably my favourite play of the round. I think that the Cowboys are probably my second favourite play of the round. The Cowboys, this line is essentially telling us that the Cowboys and the Vikings are even teams. But I think that the Cowboys have a fairly strong home field advantage. I think you've got to give them at least 3 points here. And look, if the Cowboys and the Vikings were both fully healthy, yes, maybe I would say that these two teams are even. But they're not. The Vikings are banged up as all hell. Adam Thielen has just been ruled out of this one this morning, their best receiver. So I think the Cowboys will be able to do a decent enough job of bottling up Stephon Diggs, who's pretty much the only other decent wide receiver on this Vikings team. And you've got defensive injuries on the Vikings as well. Starting cornerback out, the safety out, and then multiple injuries at defensive end. So, on the Cowboys side, I think the injuries are looking a little bit more upbeat. Tyron Smith, Jacob, I think you mentioned, is looking like more and more like he's going to play in this one. And I guess the big question mark was on Amari Cooper, but he's going to be fine to go. So, look, I think that we're getting the better team, the healthier team at home, and we only have to lay 3 points. I know it's a huge game for both teams, but I just think this is a fairly easy one for me.
Yeah, and I made the case last week. The Cowboys might actually be a really good team, but we all got fixated on that one horrible day out at the Jets.
I got fixated on it.
Yeah, and it killed us, so that's why. But the other losses aren't looking too bad when you consider they were basically against Super Bowl contenders. And other than that, they've had a lot of comprehensive wins, and they've gotten healthier. And they started slow against the Giants on Monday night, but they ended up putting together a good performance and looking good to me. I like the Vikings, but I think Thielen is a big loss because you can key in on Diggs. There's some very interesting statistics out there that say people talk about Kirk Cousins never wins the big games. Well, there's some stats that say when he plays at 1 p.m., he wins 66% of the time, or covers, because we don't, wins can just be if you play easy teams, but covers against the spread 66% of the time, and about 33% when it's not 1 p.m. So this is a man who likes his routine. So in theory, I don't buy into trends, but if there's a trend that's in my favor on top of a handicap I like, I think, well, if there's anything really tangible to that, it's in our favor as well. I agree. I think the Cowboys are the superior side, so 3 is a short price to lay.
It is funny too, that thing that you mentioned about Cousins, because I know you say seems like a man that likes his routine, but it's like known, I guess, that he is like plans his fucking day down to like every like 5 or 10 minute increments or some weird shit like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not just a stat that's like convenient. I guess it makes
sense.
Yeah,
like when someone says to you, "Oh, if you back the Patriots on a Tuesday and it's under 35 degrees,
right,
and there's 10% humidity and it's a November or a October, they cover 70%." So yeah, you can cherry pick anything to make it sound a good trend. But if you give me a trend and you give me reasoning behind it, and it wins with a good sample size, I do at least consider it.
Yeah, for sure. So this is we've got the most plays actually on the Cowboys out of any game this week. We're taking the Cowboys laying 3 points. That one is $1.88 on Ladbrokes and on Neds. We're going to take the Cowboys laying 1.5 points in the first half. That is $1.91 on BetEasy. We're taking the Cowboys team total over 25.5 points. That one is $1.86 on Unibet. I'm going to take the Vikings team total under 24 points. That is $1.80 on BetEasy in the three-way market. Just see a comment flowing in from Luke. Yes, just mentioning that when they lost to the Jets, they were missing both tackles on the O-line, and they have been getting
and
a little
two
bit
wide
healthier.
receivers. We've
Yes.
talked about that a few times.
Yes, indeed.
And
So,
it still came down to a 2-point conversion.
yeah, I don't want to relive that at all. Let's go to the Monday night game. We got the Seahawks plus 6 points at the 49ers. 47 points is the total. Yeah, look, I think this is a funny one. I know that you can say that the 49ers, I think there's no question that the undefeated 49ers are the better team coming into this one. How much you actually give for home field here, I'd say, is probably just a fair 3. The Seahawks coming off, what was probably a pretty grueling win in OT, but I think also a confidence-boosting win for them. They've got finals aspirations. They've still got a chance, an outside chance of winning that division, especially if they win this game against the 49ers. I think they're only a couple of games back. That would bring them within one game of the 49ers. So, look, big game for both teams. I think slightly bigger game for the Seahawks in this one. The 49ers are in not a bad spot. They're coming off, a 10-day turnaround, playing against the Cards on Thursday night. Both teams, decent against the run. Both teams want to run the ball a shitload. The Seahawks, I think, run it second most in the league. The 49ers run it the most in the league. The good thing here in terms of the matchup, I know that the 49ers do have an elite defense. Number 1 against the pass. You cannot pass on the 49ers, but you can run on them. Number 20 against the run. So the Seahawks match up decently. That's what they want to do. They want to be able to run the ball, and I think they will want to do that, especially early on. So I think they can keep it close. And look, if they do get down by a margin, and you do have to throw the ball to catch up, then who better to trust than Russell Wilson, throwing the most touchdowns in the league this season, despite playing on the run-heaviest team, or the second run-heaviest team in the league. So, look, hold your nose, trust Russell Wilson, trust the Seahawks to be able to keep this one close. And look, I think even an outside chance of an outright upset here.
I don't think you have to hold your nose. I kind of think that most of the public will actually be on our side and take the Seahawks. In a primetime game where you're going, it's Russell Wilson versus Jimmy Garoppolo, you're getting a lot of points. Everyone knows this is a division rivalry. These teams hate each other. The Seahawks play a lot of close games. I think a lot of the people who are laying the points of the 49ers are the stats guys that are saying that their power ratings have the 49ers, 4 or more points better than the Seahawks, and therefore that can't understand why this line is a touchdown, or higher. But I think that the 49ers have kind of been playing on tilt. They're all about nobody respects us. We're going to wreck everybody. We're so good. And I don't know if they've got another gear to go to. You're undefeated. How much better can you play? Whereas the Seahawks, at least they made some new additions to their defense. Guys like Clowney, they brought Diggs in, that can improve. They do have that extra gear because Russell Wilson's kind of the skeleton key that he can always run the ball that couple of extra times, pick up a couple of first downs when he really needs them. This would be the kind of game to do it. Isn't it crazy? A team that runs the ball, I think most of any team in the last 2 years, I think you said they're second this year in rush attempts, and yet the quarterback is the favorite to win the MVP as well. He's been so efficient with the ball. It's partly because that run threat is there.
True.
So if two teams are going to run the ball and two good defenses, I know the Seahawks have conceded a lot of points. I still kind of like their defense. That's why we lean the unders. And we will take, we've been able to make a mechanical 7, right?
Yep.
Which is pretty good line. It's probably more like a consensus 6.5, but getting it to 7 is well worth it. And I just think, look at the slate of games. We talked about Vikings, Cowboys a second ago, should be a good game. But of all the games this week, I'm really looking forward to Seahawks Niners. And if I think it's going to be a great game, I probably should be taking the +7 on the underdog because I'm not expecting it to be, all that cut and dry. So I like our plays on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of, personnel things as well that we did forget to mention. George Kittle, I know he's on your fantasy team, Jacob, still not practicing. It's getting later in the week now, so, not ruled out by any means, but if he's still not practicing today, that is not a great sign for the 49ers. And on the Seahawks side, obviously signed Josh Gordon. He didn't play last week, but he's practicing, and Pete Carroll reckons he may play this week. So that just gives Russell Wilson one extra weapon in offense.
And you look at all the teams in the NFL that have good receiving, groups. Man, Tyler Lockett is killing it this year. DK Metcalf, the first round pick, is more than just an athletic freak. You add Gordon. That's one of the better wide receiver groups compared to, the 49ers improved in getting
added
Sanders in there, but they wouldn't have been considered an elite wide receiving group. So it's another reason why Russell Wilson can score anytime he gets his hands on the ball.
Absolutely. Like Jacob mentioned, we have made a mechanical Seahawks plus 7 points. It ends up being $1.81. The way you're going to do it is 58% of your stake on the Seahawks plus 8 points. You'll find that one at $1.72 on BetEasy. It's in a three-way market, so it's essentially plus 7.5. And we're going to take 42% of our stake and put it on the Seahawks plus 6.5 points. That is $1.92 on Ladbrokes and on Neds. We're just going to take the under 48.5 points for the game. That is $1.89 on BetEasy. And that will do it. I didn't even count how many best bets we had this week, but like I said, we deep dived like fucking maniacs yesterday, all day yesterday and today. So we are confident in our plays. I mean, we always are, but I think we probably put in a little bit more work this week just because we've been running a bit bad. So I think that cannot be a bad thing, that's for sure. So let's hope we have a bounce back one this one. Jacob, did you want to explain just one last time about the competition that we've got going on today in terms of the horse racing? It's not too late to enter, is it?
No, it's not. So if you're listening to this live, or if you hear this today on Saturday, anytime before 3 p.m., this is the last time we'll do this spring racing carnival. It's a competition that will cost you $20 to get in, and you're going to get given some, $10,000 in pretend funds to bet on the races today, however you choose, and whatever your finishing balance is going to put you in the standings with all the other entries. There'll probably be 100 odd people in the competition, and the prize pool's over $5,000. And I mean, I literally won over $1,000 just on Melbourne Cup Day. I'm not even a horse racing expert or by any means.
You somehow crushed those comps.
I won the tripod comp as well, actually. I almost felt bad about that. That was just for tripod members only, but not really. If you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. But hey, guys, even if you're playing for second against me, that's still good prize money for second. But the reason I'm, really pushing this is because it is a great deal, because if you don't win, you get a refund. That's thanks to us. All you got to do is comment your username on the post in our group. So you're getting a complete free roll. It's $20 that you can't lose, but you can win literally over $1,000. How often can you say that? And it's good fun. So we've offered it multiple times. We offered it with League, and they were saying, "Oh, you're getting a bit too generous. We can't keep giving away refunds." But we're getting this offer one more time for anybody in our group. So I would take advantage of it if you're interested at all. You literally have nothing to lose. So check that out in the Tripod group. All the details are there.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll have a horse racing thread, obviously, up as well. I'll throw this one up after the pod. So make sure you're in the Tripod group on Facebook, like Jacob said, Tripod Punters Tips Forum. Make sure you're in the app, where we will release, obviously, all of the best bets. If you miss some in the pod, I'll type them up and post them in the app after this. And as well as our multis. Like Jacob said, we have been struggling on the best bets, but we have been winning the multis. We'll be posting those up tomorrow in the Tripod app as well.
One more minute.
Today, sorry. Go.
One more minute. Let's talk about rugby league, because we didn't break down the test matches last week.
No, you're right.
But I did say in the group, my favourite play last week was the Great Britain Lions plus 8.5 against New Zealand. They should have won that game. They dropped the ball over the line. It was a very entertaining game. They lost, I think it was 12-8 in the end.
Yes,
so they still covered the plus 8.5. They're playing again today. If anyone's interested, we can probably share some. Like if I see any value, I'll share it in the group again today. The line's 5.5, so it shows that 8.5 was too generous last week. But let's also talk a second about the fact that Tonga upset the Kangaroos.
Crazy.
And I'm thrilled. Like, who cares about, patriotism? For the sport, that is truly amazing. Completely hats off to Tonga. It was a huge effort, and I also tipped it in the group that I liked Tonga to beat Great Britain. It's a hell of a team. It's stacked, forward pack, as we all know. That was a big effort to beat Great Britain, and that was a Herculean effort to beat Australia. After scoring the first try, they were then down 12-6, and you still thought Australia could cover the 16-point line. Right. But they come out that second half. They win, I think, the second half 12-0 or 10-0, and it was monster. And it's in Auckland. The crowd was a sea of red and red flags. People have criticised Australia and said they didn't take the game seriously. Look, Australia had some bad errors in that game, but this was all about, let's not take away anything from Tonga. That was unbelievable. I don't know if you caught much of that game or what you reckon about that one.
I didn't unfortunately catch too much of it. But look, like you said, it is only a good thing for the game of rugby league to get upsets like that and to have these smaller nations like Tonga, getting super strong rosters now. I know that, there's a few guys there that have deferred now and gone to play for Tonga, and that roster is solid as fuck, and now you get, a bunch of those Islander kids that can look up to this Tongan team and, they can say, shit, that could be me one day. It's only good for the game of rugby league.
After watching the Rugby World Cup, which is obviously the better international event,
Sure.
Rugby Union is played more around the world, so it allowed for, more even competition with more contenders. Like, that's the dream as a rugby league fan, or I think it's the better product, the better sport.
Yep.
It is only a good thing to have more countries, getting closer. So
100%.
that's very positive. Even Fiji had a really impressive win over Samoa. So
Yeah.
it's all good. And I just thought it's worth mentioning because Fiji plays Papua New Guinea the Savo as well. It should be interesting too. So we are very blessed with the amount of sweet sport that is on every weekend.
2 16 or more point underdogs won over one weekend of footy, and I don't know if that even happened once in the NRL in the entire season. I can't remember a time.
Good point, yeah. Which is interesting.
Very, very good. All right, good work, Jacob. We stayed under an hour. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. We'll be back same time next week, obviously, to break down what happened in Week 10 and also preview Week 11. But yeah, make sure you're in the group. It's Saturday. Tons of shit going on. Horse racing, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, make sure you're in the group. We'll be in there. Make sure you've downloaded the Tripod app. And yeah, we'll see you next Saturday at 10 a.m. See you then.